wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I wanted to greet everybody on this Friday night and let you guys know why I wanted to kind of gather and have a really informal conversation with the community. I decided that I wanted to do something that we were talking about privately last week that I think can now be done publicly. Oh, there we go. I don't know. My camera went off. I don't know why. Let me hit this button. There we go. I'm back. I don't know why that happened. It just happens randomly. And I said, the sister Tana, one of the individuals that's here with us tonight, said that that she thought that we should have a black think tank. And I said, okay, well, you know what? Why don't we just create one? Why don't we just get together as black people and have a conversation about some important issues? And I want to invite everybody in the chat. If you have maybe a one sentence statement, one sentence idea, one sentence concept that you'd like for me to share on screen, I'll try to grab some. And as we get started, though, everybody hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, everything else. And let's just jump right into this. I'll get to each of my guests one by one, but I want to ask you all about this topic. Did anybody hear that California was talking about paying reparations? Like a lot of money for reparations. Anybody hear about that? DJ, you shaking your head? Okay, so DJ Sessions, what's the name of your company, DJ?
Sessions and Associates.
So DJ Sessions, the CEO and founder of Sessions and Associates, and you do mostly things related to financial advising and financial literacy, things like that, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so let me just tell you, DJ, I saw that California was talking about, really paying like a significant amount of money, like to the point where I said, okay, if I lived in California, I would vote for this governor because the number was a nice number. It was like almost $250,000 per person. Now it contains some of the typical stuff, like I think free college tuition, stuff like that, which I don't know if that counts as much as so much as reparations payment. But they did talk about supporting people buy homes and really doing a calculation of what is actually owed. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I'm okay with a coordinated effort where if you're paying off debt, you're including land and cash payments, essentially helping the net worth of our people. I'm okay with that. I think if you just do blanket checks, maybe there's going to be an argument for that. But if you have some people who did try to uplift themselves and incurred some debt for that, and then okay, we're going to pay off debt. We're going to also give you some cash, and we're also going to give you some land. I'm okay with that.
Okay. So cash and land and stuff like that. Does anybody else have a thought on that? Kimberly Fowler, it seemed like you had something to say about that. Now you're in the business of tax preparation, right? Now, what is the name of your company?
It's called Tax Pro Software Solutions, and I teach other tax professionals how to start their tax business.
Okay, and actually, I'm speaking at your conference tomorrow. Yeah, the Sales Accelerator. Sometimes my brain it compartmentalizes so much that literally something inside me said, "Hey, idiot Boyce, like you're going to be speaking at our conference tomorrow." That's Kimberly Fowler on the file. Oh, okay. So Kim, as an expert in taxation and finances and things like that, what are your thoughts? When you sort of hear about this sort of initiative, I was actually pretty enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I was too, and the amount was actually blew me away. I didn't think it would be 220. It was actually 223,000, I believe. So almost, a quarter of. So I feel like I support what they're doing. My concern is, and what I feel like is the challenge. Like anytime there is a significant amount of money that is given to the public and they don't have the financial literacy behind it, it's just what's the purpose? Like we can say all day, hey, you need to allocate it here to housing, to mortgages, to land, give people cash. But if they don't know they don't have a strategy behind, what to do with this money, then what is gonna be the real effect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is interesting. So, I think that the financial literacy component, like we as a community, if we are going to come into that kind of wealth, you got to know how to manage it or it'll be gone right away.
Right.
A lot of I don't know if anybody knows this, but a lot of lottery winners go broke. Because it's your habits that determine where you're going to end up financially, not where you start. It's like if you and I are racing in the 100-meter dash and I get a head start, but I start running backward, then you're eventually going to win that race, or if I sit still or run sideways or whatever. So we have to kind of get out of this idea that is solely, what you started with. It makes a difference where you are economically. It's what you do with what you have. In fact, there's a million examples of people who started with nothing who ended up very wealthy because when they got an opportunity, they took it. When they got a nickel, they kept it. When they had a chance to invest, they did it. When they were allowed to make sacrifices, they made those sacrifices. So, let me our other guests. Let me pull this up so I can see your name. Okay, so Eric Davis, what are your thoughts, man? You're a student in the Black Business School, I know, and I know that you're 100% B1. And I know that you're a guy, you're a entrepreneur. I know that you're working to develop business, stuff like that. What would you do if the government, gave a reparations check, and said, okay, here's $250,000, good luck.
Well, I would. It's untaxable. That's the first thing I would want to know. If I'm getting a whole check, that's first. After that, I would split it into thirds. I would invest a third. I would maneuver for land and housing on the second third, and then the last I would try to, make more money by getting my business up and running fully.
Okay. Well, I like that. When I was reading about the California reparations bill, Tana, I noticed that they were speaking about they had a lot of details in here. They had a reparations task force, which was a 9-member panel appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom. They projected that the Black state residents could be eligible for as much as $223,000 per person. And they really talked specifically about housing discrimination. They said the number derives from the housing wealth gap Black Californians have allegedly experienced as a result of discriminatory policies in place between 1933 and 1977. As we fix the feedback, I don't know what Tana, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, looks like Tana's having trouble with a microphone. Hey, Tana, I'm gonna pull you off screen for a second, Tana, until you fix your mic and fix your camera. And when I see it fixed, I'll bring you back in. So I'm gonna read a little bit more. They said the task force estimated that the policies cost Black residents $5,000 per year. The task force passed a motion in March outlining eligibility based on an individual being an African-American descendant of a chattel enslaved person or the descendant of a free Black person living in the U.S. prior to the end of the 19th century. I thought that was pretty specific. I thought they did a really good job, of making sure that it wasn't, watered down for everybody. Tana, now I see you got the mic fixed and everything. What do you think about that? I was pretty impressed. They really limited it to descendants of slavery. It seems they really were very specific. They didn't try to do, I don't know if y'all saw it in Rhode Island, they had a reparations plan. They said that white people could apply if they were poor enough. And so it's kind of a joke. What do you think about just all this, Tana?
Well, from what I heard, I think that it's a good thing. It's what we've been asking for eons. And it is about time. And California has always been kind of a testing place. If they're going to do something, they usually will try it in California. But if it passes, I wonder how many independent companies are sitting on the side waiting to usurp the money and put it back where they think it belongs.
Okay. So what about that? I mean, is that necessarily if there are businesses that are, let's say, run by people who are not Black, Jewish people, Asian, whoever, and they say, okay, you know what? When they get this money, we're gonna offer them products. We're gonna go and stock up on our Air Jordans and we're gonna sell them, massages, liquor, and Chinese food, whatever we want to sell them and get some of that money. Is that necessarily racist? I mean, Kimberly, what do you think? I mean, do you think that that's them being, deliberately and irrationally and unfairly exploitative, or do you think that that's just the game that we're playing?
Yeah, I honestly think that could be a thought from the from the top. Like, hey, we're going to give them this money where it's going to circulate back into our hands some type of way anyway. But so I'm trying to figure out how that was a question of mine. Like, how is this? Who is going to be how is this going to be a determining factor of how it's distributed? Because from my understanding, they're trying to figure out what is through it, if they're going to give it through education, housing. Like they're trying to figure out where to place the money. So I am trying to figure out, is it going to be a vote? Is it are we going to be allowed to vote on it, or how is this going to actually be? Like, who's going to be the deciding factor of how the funds are distributed?
Okay. So anybody else have a thought on that? DJ?
Yeah, I was going to add that. So you're right. The minute we find out, I think it's upon leaders like you, Dr. Watkins, right? And Tariq Nasheed and the Rizzas, all the folks who are the leading voice to kind of scream with the bullhorn. All right, here's what we need to do with this money. Because to your point, you're right. We don't want it going in the hands and all of a sudden going somewhere else. And so I love that we're even, because I didn't even know about this, by the way. So I appreciate you guys bringing this to my attention. I was reading as we were talking, because at the end of the day, you were right. There's a finite time. And so before cash payments come to the check, we need to be every single day. Here's what we need to do with the money. Here's what we need to do. We need to continue to drum it into the heads. So that way, there is some significant increase in progress if this does come about.
Okay. So Eric just came back, it looks like. So here's what they also said. They said 7% of Californians are expected to qualify for reparations, which suggests the housing discrimination allotment would amount to $569 billion statewide, $500 billion. Some, however, of course, were disappointed with the lineage-based approach ultimately adopted by the task force, since it would potentially exclude Black immigrants, for instance. The motion split the group, with 5 voting in favor and 4 against. Quote, we must make sure we include present day and future harms. The system that folks are advocating for here, where we splice things up, where only the small slice benefits, will not abate the harms of racism. Task member Lisa Holder told Cal Matters. So it looks like there are people who feel that immigrants should be included in the reparations argument. Now, I don't know if my opinion is already out there enough, but I'm thinking about slavery, and I think we fix that first, and then if there's other harms done to other people, we address that separately. But I don't like, Eric, I don't like them bundling everything together. It kind of makes me a little bit uncomfortable. What do you think?
I was laughing because it's funny. If it's reparations,
speak up just a little bit, brother, so we can hear you.
If it's reparations for the ancestors of enslaved people, if you migrated here, you don't have that experience. So why would you get a paycheck from not having the experience of doing the labor that you had to go through? It's like I'm like trying to get my thoughts together, but you migrated here, so you have a home country, and if you feel like you do or owed something, you should ask from it from your home country. This country didn't do what it did to my ancestors. It did to your ancestors. Like, you got the chance to get a free pass, migrate here, open up shops, go to school, this, that, and the third. They already have allotted money for immigration already set out. So, like, they don't have a lot money for me, my family, my ancestors, and things like that. That was already dosed out. Even though they said they was going to do it, almost 200 years ago? Like, there's no 40 acres and a mule that we all have. Because we wouldn't be having this discussion if we had 40 acres and a mule already.
Right. Okay. Well, let me read some of this to you. They said that Governor Gavin Newsom, that he created the task force in May of 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. Governor Newsom had vetoed a bill introduced into the state Senate by Reginald Jones Sawyer, an assemblyman and panelist member would have extended the task force's deliberations and interviews an additional year until 2024. The move will bring the reparations task force findings to a clear resolution. So as it is expected to submit final recommendations by June of 2023. So this is very soon. Any recommendations the task force presents will have to be approved by the California State Legislature before being enacted. Now, anybody can kind of jump in on this, but I when they say it has to be approved by the whole legislature, I'm really concerned about that. I'm really wondering what it's going to look like when it's finally done. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I see Kim, I see you nodding your head. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you're speaking about that, because I haven't, read that part into it, but I'm like, how many times is what's going to be dissected, like how are they going to, alloc what are some of the intricacies that they're going to like pull out, put in, or like what are going to be some of the restrictions, the barriers, or like are they going to make this policy so hard that people aren't even going to be able to apply or utilize it? Like that's just my concern when it comes to this. Like what are the intricacies?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I'm gonna go back to you, Coach Fowler. So let's talk about your conference this weekend. You're doing something called the Sales Accelerator.
Yes.
And it's going to be December 3rd. It's right here in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And I am actually going to attend. And if anybody's interested, they can go to CoachKimberlyFowler.com, FOWLER. I'll put the URL on the screen. But let's say that so you're a person that understands financial literacy. You have an interest in this. What if they said something like, we're going to use part of the money to allow everyone access to the types of things that you might teach at a Sales Accelerator type thing? What sort of skills does a person get? And what I'm advocating for is I'm secretly advocating for this idea that as a community, when we embrace financial literacy, we figure out what we're going to do, what experts we have, what systemized process we can have to educate our own people. What sorts of things might somebody learn at a Sales Accelerator that could actually allow them to take that money they receive and turn that into something bigger and better, short-term, medium, and long-term?
Well, the most important skill that we'll teach at the Sales Accelerator is sales skills. But even behind that, what I notice is entrepreneurs, we can get all of the tactics, all of the strategies, like we can go to conferences like the Sales Accelerator. But if our mindset if we aren't in the point to the point where we can actually accept the information that's being given to us, like with our mindset. So I really feel like even the mindset, the skill of understanding who you are as a person so that you know how to show up in the marketplace is very important as well. So while we're teaching people how to get customers and how to go out and, promote yourself, like we have to talk about building our expertise, understanding who we are in the marketplace, why people should come to us. Like if we're going to build a business, the purpose of a business is to provide solutions. So you have to understand the problems that are in the marketplace. You're here to solve a problem. So if you don't even know what problem you're solving, we have to start before we're talking about sales. We have to teach people how to build their skills in a certain industry.
Okay. Well, and I mentioned that just because I just personally believe that even when we're talking about educating our kids and getting better education, it's like if we're trying to solve our economic problem, maybe we need to kind of pivot and really focus on economics, like really make sure that we're learning things economically. And the reason I pointed at your conference, which by the way, everybody's happening right outside Atlanta this weekend, and I'll be one of the speakers, and I invite everybody to participate. I like what you're doing because I've always believed that the ability to sell something is literally just like it's an amazing skill. It's a skill that's always going to make sure you're able to eat. The ability to sell that product develop the product and sell it is filling in that gap, because a lot of us don't know anything about that. We just, making money is like a black box. We're like, okay, if I fill out this job application and hand it to this corporation, they'll give me a job making some product that they're out selling. Right. So they go sell the product. They make $1,000. They pay me $30, whatever they pay me to make it. And then they just get all the profits. And I just really think that, that the ability to sell is just one of those fundamental skills that I think our people should know. When I was in China, for example, most of the entrepreneurs, I saw thousands of entrepreneurs when I was in China. Almost none of them went to college. None of them went to business school, but they knew how to sell their butts off.
Yeah.
And they were making money because of that.
Yeah, that's a high income skill, like hands down. Sales is a high income skill. Yeah.
When I talk to my kids are one of them just finished college, and we were talking about careers and all that. And I said, hey man, I'm not going to really tell you about filling out job applications, because if you really want to make money quickly, learn how to sell something.
Mhm.
Like you learn how to sell something, you know, if that thing is $100, you sell 10 units, you make $1,000 that day, you can go back to bed. You know, like, so it's just this myth that we think, okay, I got to work my butt off in order to go make some money. Yeah, you got to work. You got to work to get the skill. But once you get the skill, you can live off that for the rest of your life. So thank you for that, Coach Fowler. So let me, okay, brother, DJ,
I
you
was
have
just
something
going
to
to
say.
add to that. I just learned that the root word of sales is serve.
Serve, yes.
And I think that people, when they learn how to serve others, if you have the mindset of I'm going to serve others, then the sales are going to come, right? And so you go back to that mindset. It is all about the mindset, and you know, you'll develop it and you'll get better over time. But you know, I just want to kind of throw that out there when you're talking about sales.
Man, I think that is so great. What you said was really hit the nail on the head, DJ, because I had a problem that I don't talk about much, but I had a real problem. I'm going to confess it now. For years, and I'm talking about maybe, you know, I don't know. Let's say I started doing this internet, anything on the internet, maybe 07. That's when I created my first YouTube channel. And then I started building up the following. I was writing on AOL Black Voices. People signed up on my email list. And for years, we had a big problem that we had this growing audience, and we didn't have the revenue to pay our team members and stuff like that. And the barrier that I had was, I said, gosh, I don't want to go selling people stuff. You know, I don't want to make them feel like I'm taking their money. That ain't right. And I remember I talked to some people, one guy, Lamar Tyler, who's a good friend of mine, and some others. And it got me to sort of rethink what selling was. And I said, wait a minute, if I give you something that you need, then I don't really have to sell at all. I just have to make sure I understand and care about you enough to figure out, well, what do you need? Like if you're thirsty and I offer you a glass of water, I don't really have to sell the water. I mean, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, you're going to want to give me money to buy that water. So I figured it out. So I told my son, I said, just find thirsty people, offer them water, and then the money will take care of itself.
Money follows the value. And I'm in Lamar Tyler's mastermind too. TSP.
Oh, Traffic Still. Yeah, Lamar, I love that guy. He's so good at what he does, and he's been a friend for a long time. So shout out to Lamar Tyler. By the way, everybody, if you could please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. We're kind of having a black think tank. We're kind of talking about some things going on in the community and just coming up with our own solutions. So actually, if you have something you'd like to share, I'm going to keep checking the chat, and I'll try to share some comments as time goes on. And CoachKimberlyFowler.com is where you can go if you'd like to join Kimberly's conference this weekend. It's called the Sales Accelerator. It's right outside of Atlanta. What city is it in? Exactly. Is it
right next to Six Flags?
Right next to Six Flags. Okay. So feel free to join that conference. I'm going to be one of the speakers, and a lot of great people will be there. So let me go back. Okay. So Tana, is it Tana or Tana?
Tana.
Tana. Okay. So Tana. Okay. Because I said Tana and I thought I was saying it wrong. I said, boy, she should have said Tana. So Tana, give me some thoughts on all this. Now you're a history buff, right? Is that correct? Or well read? I see all the books behind you. Are you well read? Are you really that well read? Or are you just pretending?
I'm a nerd. I have 3 televisions sitting on the side to sell since 2018. I haven't bothered. I don't do TV. I do a little YouTube, but I do a lot of research. I'm a nosy person. And the research that I do is based on my Black people. What are they trying to do to harm us, kick our feet from under us, and so forth? I find out a lot of things, but there's no one to share it with.
So so share it with us. Share one interesting fact that you found in your research that you think every Black person needs to know.
Okay. The one that I think would be most prominent is that what happened in Michigan with the water was not an accident. It was intentional. It wanted to see what the national, international, and United States would cry about it. You know, go berserk about it, do something about it. Yeah. And when they saw it was like milk toast, nobody really gave a squat. They thought, well, we can do more. But I lived in Rosedale, Long Island. I'm going to try to be brief. I lived in Rosedale, Long Island, just a Long Island housewife. I've always had a business. My husband had a trucking company. And one day while I was sitting on my porch smoking a cigarette, I'd been smoking in the house, a street sweeper came down the block. You know, everybody knows what a street sweeper looks like, right? Okay. So as it was coming down the block, for some strange reason, there was an odor, a most horrific odor. So I'm nosy. I'm nosy. So I got up and I went to the curb and I saw this sort of green, looked a lot like, I want to say, uh, fluid from that you would put in your transmission, greenish, bluish kind of stuff was flowing down the street. So I'm thinking, well, street sweepers pick up. Why is something coming out of this machine and going down? And it stinks. So I started running along the guy who happened to have a mask on that looked very much like a gas mask. So I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? So I stopped him, and he was dumb enough to stop. And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, be honest with you. He says, I'm from New Jersey. They just shut down Fort Dix because of carcinogen drums. These drums were supposed to go to North Carolina. We're getting $75 a barrel. Listen to me. To take them to North Carolina and bury them 6 feet deep in any lot we can find or any spot we can find cheap and just bury it because it has a 40-year shelf life. The guy was just honest. So I took his license plate down and I said, it's carcinogenic, right? He says, absolutely. I thought, well, why are you doing it? He says, I got to make a living. I said, well, why our neighborhood? He said, that's obvious. So I took it down. And this is the thing. I had a license plate book. Back then you could do it. License plates had a code. And so I looked, and sure enough, it came from New Jersey. I wrote to, I don't know if it was, I want to say John Lindsay or A. Beam, but whatever it was, I started on the carbon paper typewriter. Remember, we ain't got, computers. I'm on my typewriter, and I'm sending letters out everywhere. I made flyers. I walked around the neighbor knocking on the door saying, you got to check your water, because we had a problem on our side of the street where when it rained, it came down into our basement. A lot of us had sump pumps. So this is not a good thing. Well, I've been studying Rosedale, and I moved. I immediately sold my house. I sold it to the woman a young girl that owned Hartford Insurance with the deal with the antlers insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't tell her Jack. Her name was Ginsburg. I'm so sorry about that. But anyway, I moved immediately. I just moved. I had 2 kids at the time. This was around 1970, between 1971 and 73. Nobody from the city of New York ever responded to me. The people in my neighborhood and so forth, I don't know what the maneuvers were, as far as, because we can't suck it up. We can't. And by the way, at the corner, there was a dip where all 4 corners met, and we had to actually walk through that water or walk up the block and go around it. So it was very, very dangerous. And I was following Rosedale, and we had that place was cancer ridden for years, and even to this day. I find articles in the paper cutting out saying babies are miscarried, women have cancer, men have cancer. The death rate is amazing. It was horrible. This is like Springfield, Rosedale, New York. So
environmental racism, that's kind of something that,
and that's what I'm saying. Now, one time I read an article. I was living in Albany, New York. I'm just going to be one more time. I was living in Albany, New York, and I read a lot. Like I said, any paper I can find. People used to joke and say I read matchbook covers. And I read this article about them trying to clean up the Hudson River, because the Hudson River was used as a dump site for a lot of toxins. So just happened that me and my husband at that time went down to New York, to Harlem. He was raised in Harlem. So we said, let's do Harlem. So we went down a bus, train, whatever, and we got down there, and we're shopping New York stuff, because Albany's kind of. So I had my camera all the time. So I noticed they had opened up 125th and Lenox, and there was as big around as this room, there was a pipe that they were washing out. They were flooding it, and they were preparing for gentrification when they take Harlem back and put the water pure for the gentrification people. And so I started taking pictures. I didn't try not to be obvious, but I was taking pictures, and I was going to research what permits did they have and what were they doing flushing the pipes. You understand? Because what if, as in Michigan, those pipes were always being fed into Harlem? My husband's father died of cancer. There was a lot of cancer, a lot of chemicals in there, not just the fluid from Hudson, but things that would make you listless angry, hostile, mental illness, alcoholism, go to drugs because you don't know what's messing with you, but something's messing with you. And so I took the film when I got back to Albany, dumb thing, took it to a Walgreens and just put it in like a regular film because that's kind of where I had my film. It wasn't like a big Walmart at that time. And when I went to pick the film up, the pictures up, first of all, they didn't call me. It was odd because I had a kind of thing where, because I did film a lot.
So they didn't give you your pictures back?
What they gave me back, they claimed they didn't come out.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
then yeah, they said they didn't come out. But I know that for some reason, whatever, I didn't get the film back.
Right.
I got the film back, but the roll back.
So so just so we can kind of get everyone else kind of, but I think that to your point, I think you're talking about something that's really important in something that I think about. A lot of cancer has hit my family. Like, I don't know if anybody else in the chat, raise your hand in the chat, say yes in the chat if anybody that you know has died from cancer or sick from cancer right now, or if you've had cancer. I'm gonna raise my hand. Too many cases to mention.
I'm a widow now. My husband died of cancer.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that.
I did the statistics, and the statistics even in 2022 are astounding. How much of the percentage of the Black population is having issues with health? Mm-hmm. So that's where my research is going now. I'm trying to figure out what's in the food stuff. For instance, the barcode that goes to a bodega. A girl told me she drank one beer at a bodega and was totaled. She drank 7, buy one, get ones at a bar or somewhere, and she could drink 5 beers. But when she drank a beer at a bodega, she was totaled. Can that barcode going to a bodega have something else in it?
Well, let me jump in and say this, because I want to make sure we move on. But
okay, please.
I mean, I don't want to.
No, don't mind me.
But I wanted you to get a chance to really get that out. And so what I'll say is that, statistically speaking, if you look up the American Cancer Society, says that Black people have a 38% chance of catching and dying of cancer. I think for women, it's about 34%. For men, it's 38%. Now, for whites, it's actually slightly higher, ironically. So, but still, though, it seems to me like one of the things that we're not also sort of looking at is a lot of the food that we eat on a regular basis can create cancer. Like, I've been really looking into colon cancer a lot, because I have a loved one who has it, who just got it. And it turns out a lot of that sugar that is in everything that we eat, that sugar that's connected, that even soda. I didn't know that. My sister's a medical doctor, and she said that when they were looking at people that had really fatty livers and stuff like that, she said Mountain Dew. She said Mountain Dew's the devil. Those are her exact words. And she said that the soda just does something really bad to you, where it dramatically increases your likelihood of cancer. Dr. Charles Rogers, who's an expert on colon cancer, he teaches at a major university, and that's all he researches is Black men and colon cancer. And I remember him mentioning soda, and I just thought that just came out of nowhere. I thought maybe he talked about, okay, you don't want to be eating pickled pig's feet and chitlins and stuff. I thought that just eating really bad stuff was bad, but no, a lot of the regular processed food that we eat, is going to kill us eventually, and we just eat it, and and it's crazy because it's so accepted. You're driving down the street, and all the restaurants literally are giving you food that is not healthy. And so, Tana, okay, so Tana, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna make sure everybody else gets a chance to talk now. So what is this? Listen, real quick.
Okay, what if something is specific? Say you get an injection, and a white person gets an injection, and there's something in that injection that reacts with your DNA, not theirs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the science behind what I'm looking at. Are they intentionally? Because when I look at conspiracy theory side and statistics, the statistics are off the chart. The statistics it's got to be something purposeful going on, and not just now. We're going way back to 1950, 40, and seeing the same pattern. Men kicking off. Everybody, Black women end up widows. Mm-hmm. well, I'm just saying, but you can go on with where you're going on. But I'm telling you that my thing is researching what harm is purposely done to us.
Okay.
Because it costs these research tanks and think tanks that they have trying to figure out how to kick the legs out from under us.
Right. Well, you know what? We know health is wealth, and I'll tell you, the last few years I've tried to focus on my own health, and I talk about whatever. A lot of times I end up talking about stuff that I'm experiencing and seeing and going through, and I think I can really say for sure, as a guy that talks about finances and economics a lot, I would encourage everybody, really think about your health. Don't just let your health go and just think, okay, I'm a certain age, I'm supposed to be obese and this, that, and the other. And there is a racial element to all this, right? You saw that during the pandemic, where a lot of Black folks didn't want to take that jab, and some did, and it's okay if you did. In my book, it's your right to do whatever you want, but I think that there's a reason, to have that skepticism. So let's kind of circle back then. In my summary in my head, what I see Kimberly, you're a businesswoman. How did you become Coach Kimberly? At what point did that happen in your life? And what does that mean? And what should we take away with that?
So actually, my people that I serve started coming to me and asked me to be a coach because I didn't know that what I was doing, serving, was actually coaching. So what I was doing was, when I opened my brick and mortar business in 2014, I was looking for tax preparers to train to work as independent tax professionals rather than the H&R Block model where they just sit there and earn $9 an hour. No, I wanted, a lot more for them for that. So one of the questions that they kept asking me over and over, and that I noticed was, okay, I offered them the software, but the question was, how do I actually run this business? How do I get customers? How do I make sales? How do I prepare taxes? And those questions I kept giving free information on this. Like, I literally would do webinars all the time, giving free information. I got a coach that said, hey, did you know what you are doing is actually coaching? And I was like, no, because I was actually helping putting people into business. And at this point, people were making 5 and 6 figures. And I'm like, just off of the information I was giving them. Then I turned it into a business once I, got more knowledge that what I was doing was actually coaching.
I love that. I think it's a good opportunity to transition to DJ, because DJ, it sounds like you're a person like. It's funny, like, we discover our superpowers, by realizing how much we're doing for other people, and then we're like, wait a minute, I could do this in a different context and help more people, get better rewards for my family, and have something that gives you a little bit more equity in the process. So you're kind of in that transition now, right? Like, you're sort of getting. By the way, what is a website I can put on the screen where people can go check out what you're doing?
Well, you could do Linktree. I do like Linktree/DJ Sessions. It's got all of my links to the website and the networking group. And I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Kimberly was saying. You're right. You were just doing it out of love of helping people. And I love that. And that's why your heart's in the right place. And so I'll kind of just summarize what I do in 4 things, right? Number one, I'm a master of mortgages, right? I've been doing mortgages for 20 plus years, and I love what I do. Number 2, I'm a BDG member. BDG is Business Development Group. Started off as a Black networking group. Now it's kind of evolved to a like-minded networking group. It's kind of transcended. It's all about the mind. Number 3, life lessons in financial empowerment. We've talked a little bit about it. And I'm kind of going full circle there, that just the information needs to be out there. And then today's age, with everybody with podcasts, YouTube, and everybody having a platform, there's really no excuse for you to kind of say, hey, look, tap into what's going on right now. This is a revolution. And if you're paying attention, you can really help yourself and help the next generation. And then finally, PRIDE, which is an acronym for Passionate, Resilient, Independent, Driven Entrepreneur. And really, that's just the story of us. I mean, there's a reason why we're still thriving and we're doing what we're doing, because we keep at it. There's something in our DNA that makes us who we are. And so I love that about us. And so we got to continue to tell our stories. Nowhere in the history of the time have we been in a period, not today, where everyone can kind of have a platform. We've got technology. and there's no excuse. And we were talking earlier about health as well. At the end of the day, if you're paying attention, you're taking care of yourself, then that's on you. And so, I'm a big believer in that self accountability for yourself. So you're absolutely right, Dr. Watkins. I mean, it is a transition, and it's also about elevation as well. And so I believe in just constantly pushing that needle forward and doing what we can with the little bit of time we got on this earth, right? And that little bit of time, because time is finite, and we got to do what we can. We got to stand on our shoulders of our ancestors. So, but thank you for giving me the opportunity, Dr. Watkins.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. So, and everybody who's watching, if you want to find DJ Sessions, there's his Linktree information. And so, one thing I want to talk about, I guess I want to go to next, Eric, is so you're at a different stage. Like, so Kimberly is you're kind of the OG of the group in the sense of like the fact that your business seems to have really kind of gone out there and gone along for a while. And I see it growing. But you're hosting conferences and things like that. Whereas DJ is making that transition where he's expanding his skill set and offering more services for other people by leaning on a seasoned career as a mortgage expert. Now, Eric, you work hard on your 9 to 5, and you're in that entrepreneur category, like where you have said, I want to make the transition. I'm ready to walk away from the job and start doing something that's a little bit different. So what is that? How's that going for you? And what are the barriers that are making it difficult for that to happen?
One barrier, honestly, is capital, which most business people have to deal with. Then I'm starting to research on different things. I had to transition several times because not until I started really getting in depth in the Black Business School did I realize that maybe I was going in the wrong direction because I wasn't doing something that I loved or something that just fit me easily. So last time we spoke, I said that, oh, well, I actually don't mind being security and not and doing security things and making sure we're safe, people are safe, individuals are safe, however. So I started looking into that. But the real reason is just pretty much capital and trying to get capital because, I live in New York City, Queens, and I was one of the people who had the, they call it furlough. I call it not getting a paycheck for agreeing to do something. And I had to get back on my feet, and that's why I'm back working a 9 to 5.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll say this. I think as I kind of look in and see where everybody is, and then Tan, I'd like to talk to you as well about where you are in the next steps for you. But I would say in general, what I believe is whatever we're trying to do, I think first of all, there's that question of how bad do you want to do it? If you're everybody's trying to go to the next level of something. I believe that everybody and what I have found is that, it's always available to you, but sometimes the question is whether or not you're willing to pay that price, to go to that next level. So I've seen all of you pay prices and make investments in yourself and things like that, which tells me that you're serious about what you're trying to do. And I think the other piece of it is I realized that trying to outgrow myself was a really hard thing to do because I'm trapped inside of who I already am. So if I visualize a bigger, better version of Boyce, it's hard for me to become that guy because by leaning on my habits and just being who I am every day, this guy is not that guy, So in order for me to be that guy, I've literally got to get like stretched and yanked out of my own skin. I've got to get forced to break habits and to, do things different from the way I naturally might do them. And that's where certain types of coaching can be really beneficial. I try to get perspectives from people who think about things very differently from the way I do, because I realize I'm the liability. I'm the asset and the liability, and so I would encourage everybody to understand that it does take an open mind. I think the biggest form of capital that's really necessary, Eric, is really human capital. Like there are so many things we can all do for free that will make that first move to get us where we want to go. Even in terms of how do you think about yourself? How do you present yourself to potential clients? How do you go about sort of figuring out like what that would look like if you were an independent security provider as opposed to someone who worked for a company, right? I really encourage you to not think that, because here's the thing. In many cases I've seen, a lot of us, somebody could walk up and hand you a bunch of money and say, okay, here, go start your business, go live your dream. And a lot of us will still be in the same place because there's so many things outside of the money that are necessary for us to really level up, So I would encourage you to sort of figure out what leveling up looks like to you and start doing that. And then the capital does actually eventually come. I do believe that there's just differences in terms of how people present themselves, how they go after opportunities, how many hours a day they spend trying to, make something happen. That all those things do matter. And I can tell you, I can spot it in a second when somebody's really on it and they're really trying to make a move versus someone who says, yeah, I want to do that. But it's almost like somebody saying, yeah, I want to run a marathon. But you say, well, how many miles have you run? Well, none. Well, that's not, that doesn't make me think that a marathon is around the corner, right? So I would encourage you to challenge yourself. Talk to people who think differently from you. Talk to people who are at that next level that you're trying to go to. Even the podcast you listen to podcasts from people that have done the things that you're trying to do. When I was trying to become an entrepreneur, I had education, but I did not know how to run a business. I was just an employee. I started listening to podcasts with entrepreneurs, and I would hear story after story after story, so that it would force me to kind of see the world from a different set of eyes. So do that. And in fact, actually, I'll tell you another little secret. I don't, when I'm on the internet, I watch almost none of the stupid stuff on the internet, like the stuff that's online. I've had people do videos about me that got 200,000 views, and I didn't even watch the video for not 1 second because I don't care. It doesn't, whatever people say is what they're going to say. It's a waste of time. The internet is, part of the internet is just a big time waster, distractor. It limits your potential. I watch the internet for specific reasons. I'll go on the internet to find information that will make me better, help me achieve a goal. If I want to do leisure, maybe I'll watch a football game or something, because they condense the games to like 10 minutes, and I love that. I'm getting a pilot's license. I'm transforming myself into an airplane pilot. I watch 1,000 videos on airplanes and how to fly them, and so I don't, make my wife mad by crashing an airplane. And then I watch financial news, and I really encourage everybody listening to understand, the internet is a beautiful place because it has the answers to almost any question you might have. Just go in there and Google it, look it up, and don't get caught up in the immature nonsense. That's such a distraction and a waste of time. And I just don't see the value in it, to be honest with you. Maybe it makes you feel good. You're scrolling down Instagram and you see stuff that's funny and you see jokes or whatever. But for the most part, that stuff will eat away at your life. And then one day you wake up, you're 50 years old and you haven't done anything. You don't want to end up in that situation. So Tana, you're last but not least, so you are pursuing justice from an environmental standpoint. You are seeking to share knowledge, right? It seems like that's what you want to do. You want to share your ideas with the world. Is that correct?
I'm a journalist. I write and I read. I'm gonna have a children's book published probably January. It's in the works. It's already prepared. I'm just tweaking it. I write children's books. Odd conspiracy theorist, and I write children's books, right?
Maybe you can write children's conspiracy theory books. Go ahead.
We need to have some up and coming like that. But I'm a nerd, and I've always been curious. And for some reason, I see things. I have a little bit of intuition, so I see things. Like, for instance, he wraps bears, spare rib backwards. So I'll see. I would say, what do you call them? Spelling of a word like heart. Then I'll look up heart and see how many words can I get out of heart and what is it really about. They're a nonprofit, but are they a nonprofit? Where's that money going? How much do they really give out? Like you were talking about the American Cancer Society. They're in business because cancer exists.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you know what? I don't know. Well, you look very pretty today, and I'm wondering, have you ever thought about having a YouTube channel where you can kind of share the things that you're learning?
I have a nephew who's kind of a geeky, and he's flying in here sometime in March to show me. I'm not very techie, and he's gonna probably help me build a website or something where I could share some of the things that I have that are factual and that I have receipts for.
Okay, well, let me give you a tip. I would be willing to bet you that you could have a space to share your ideas and set it up in less than 10 minutes. I don't think you even need a website, not right now. But that's a big thing that a lot of us, I think, feel like we have to do. I felt that way when I first got started, like I had to have a website and this and the other. And when I first got started, people were spending $10,000, $20,000 on websites, which is crazy now. You should not do that. Really, you just need a platform. You need a space that allows you to connect the way you want to connect to who you want to connect to. So what you might want to do, my assignment for you, Tana, is go to YouTube and type in how to set up a YouTube channel. And if you already, do you have a Gmail email address?
I do.
That if you've got a Gmail email address,
email. I don't have a Gmail.
Oh, you do not have a Gmail.
No.
Okay. Well, go in. You figure out how to get into here today, and if you can't, then that's okay. I can even get Chanel to reach out to you. But I want you to see if you can set up a Gmail account, because if you get a Gmail account, you'll automatically have a YouTube channel. And then I would encourage you to just get on there. You know, get prettied up the way you look today. You look awesome, and you have the books in the back. The book. Your book.
75.
What'd you say?
I'm 75.
Well, you look 35. And you, but black don't crack. We know that. And you've got the books behind you. That really defines your brand right there, right? Because remember, when people see you on YouTube, they're gonna look at what's around you, how you're dressed or whatever, and that's going to leave that first impression with them. So you want to make sure whatever people see on screen reflects what you want them to see. You know, some people they dress like bums because they want, like Sam Bankman-Fried. Y'all know who Sam Bankman-Fried is? The crypto guy that just went bankrupt and lost $25 billion. Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried, he comes out, he's always wearing a t-shirt, his hair is everywhere, and he kind of looks like, he talks like he's some kid that just got out of college. Well, that's deliberate. He deliberately does that because he doesn't want to look like a traditional banker. Whereas, you know, a traditional banker might dress different. He's going to wear the tie. He's going to show up looking like a DJ Sessions, right? He's going to be sharp and everything else. And then also remember that what you have behind you will say a lot about what you're all about. And people, that's what people pick up on. That's what they're looking at when you're talking. In between your words, they're looking at what's around you, what's behind you. Now, I will say this. I'll throw myself out there on this and say I'm not necessarily formally set up now. And the reason is because I've been doing this for such a long time that, you know, y'all kind of know me, right? But even then, I'm not going to show up completely raggedy, right? But at the same time, after a while, you can kind of let your hair down a little bit, and that's kind of what I do. I don't have any hair, but I let it down. You know,
you do mix it up sometimes, Dr. Watkins. You'll have on your vest, and you do mix it up sometimes. So I watch you. So for your audience.
Yeah. Well, that's because you don't want to make that into too much of a habit.
Right.
You know, if you make it too much of a habit, then like for example, I'm a professor, and I kind of need people to remember that. Because the internet's crazy. People start talking to you like you're some idiot off the street. And I'm like, no, I have a PhD and it's very real. You can go Google that. You know, and that.
Did you have an all red day?
What'd you say?
Did you have an all red day?
Did I have it an all red day?
Yeah, a day where you wore all red.
Probably. I don't remember, but probably. And but I really think I would encourage you not to overthink it. That's what I'd say. And I think that the internet is a great outlet. And here's the thing: you don't have to get all the people. You just got to find your people. You know, and figure out who those people are, and then maybe you can call them out and send them signals to let them know who they are. So, for example, when I say my platform's for intelligent Black people, I'm giving out a calling card. I'm saying if you fit this category, if you're pro-Black, you care about things like Black love, Black wealth, and Black family, etc., and you think being intelligent is a good thing, then then we're each other's people. But there are some people who, may not fit the description. And in fact, I remember somebody, got really mad. He did a video. A video got hundreds of thousands of views, and he said he's so arrogant. He says that his platform's for intelligent Black people, and I was like, I'm not apologizing for that. No, I don't. What do you want to be ignorant? I know I don't want to have a platform for ignorant Black people because I don't think ignorance has helped our community one bit. So why would you promote ignorance when you should be trying to get smarter? But that's a preference, right? So ultimately, I would encourage you to figure out, like, if you're going to create a channel, create content, figure out who your people are, talk to them, be honest, add value. Like DJ said, the word sales comes from serve. So if you're serving people, then people will get to know what you are good at. And when they have a need, they will come to you. Some of them, it won't be the majority. I do business with probably 0.1% of the people that follow me. But those people are the ones who help us to pay the bills and take care of people and do what we got to do. And that's all I need, So ultimately, I would not overinvest in things like websites and URLs and all that until you specifically know that you need one. So, for example, if you get to the point where you're doing radio interviews and stuff like that, and you've got to let people know how to get in touch with you, then that's when you might get a simple URL that you can buy on GoDaddy for $10, and you make sure that it's easily spelled. A lot of people have these really long URLs. I'll give you an example. Like DJ, I think you should have something, if you could, like djsessions.com, right? Like something simple that, because I think Linktree/DJ Sessions, that, like, I put that on the screen so people can see it, but that's not something, like, if you're on a radio interview, nobody's gonna remember all that. You know what I mean? Right. And but CoachKimberlyFowler.com, I think that's really good. I think the only thing with Kimberly Fowler is that sometimes people might misspell it, right? So if you say it on the radio, you might say Fowler with a W, Fowler, something like that. But ultimately, it's I believe it's everything should be minimal until you know what you need, like websites and all that. That's extra stuff. And here's the other thing too. I see a lot of people create beautiful stuff that nobody sees, because I think sometimes they forget that you have to market what you have, So for example, I saw Kim. I see you are on Instagram, and I saw it looks like you're active on Instagram. I think that's really good. I think a simple rule would be that anybody who is connected with you on social media anywhere should know what you do and where you add value. So that then when they say, "Gosh, I have a tax issue," oh, Coach Kim, yeah, Coach Kim can help me. You know what I mean? Or gosh, I have this this environmental issue I want to look into. I just read this crazy article. I hope somebody talks about it. Oh, well, let me hit Tana up in her inbox and send her the article. Maybe Tana will talk about it on her podcast. Do you see? So those are just some thoughts that I have, and I encourage you work on it every day. It's not hard. It's not easy. There were times where I've spent time doing my stuff and nobody cared, and I was writing articles and nobody read them. And so you really want to pick things that you actually love to do, that you're good at and that you actually like. And then that way, even if nobody's watching, even if nobody's paying attention, you're still enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis, even if it's not making any money yet. Does anybody have any questions before we bounce on out?
No, but I was going to add to what you said, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, it does. Figure out what your vibe is.
I need to talk to DJ.
Okay.
I'm gonna find a way to contact you.
Well, in the private chat, there's a private chat over here on the right. I don't know if DJ, if you're able to, because I don't want to share it publicly. Where actually, you know what? After we get done and we finish going live, we'll just stay on and we'll share information. I don't want to put your info out there publicly. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we get out of here? Okay. All right. Well, it's great to see all of you. And I also want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. Coach Kimberly Fowler, DJ Sessions, Eric Davis, and Miss Tana. We had a lot of fun tonight. So I'll be checking back in with you guys a little bit later. Also, I'm going to put Kimberly Fowler's email or URL up on the screen because she's hosting a great conference, the Sales Accelerator Conference, right? Outside of Atlanta. I'm going to be speaking there. So if you'd like to come by and say hi, I think that you will enjoy it and get a bang for your buck. So everybody, please have a good night. God bless you. And it was great to see you. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.